Welcome, everybody. My name is John Immel, and tonight I'm going to talk about the Ayurvedic diet for autumn. So, if you are unsure of what to do to stay healthy as fall progresses, or you want to know just how to adapt to the seasons, how your body is changing with the seasons, then this is going to be an exciting call for you. And I'm excited to share it. Here's what I look like, by the way. Um, and I'm the founder and director of Joyful Belly and also of the Joyful Belly School of Ayurveda. So we want to stay healthy as the seasons change. And, you know, it would be great if whatever we did last year, if whatever we learned from our Ayurveda consultant last spring, or whatever we've been eating for the last few months, if that just would work forever, right? That we could just do that and we'll just stay healthy and not really have to think about it anymore. I mean, that would be great, right? But the fact is that the world is changing around us. And because the world is changing, we've got to change with it. We can't just sit back and not think about it. We have to adjust. So you get sick if you don't update your diet as the seasons change. That's a basic premise of Ayurveda. Now, some people have a strong enough constitution to weather it, but we're not looking to weather things. We're looking to thrive, right? We want to be the best that we can be. And we don't want that to be a ton of effort either, right? We want it to be natural and easy and something that we can easily integrate into our life. So our Ayurvedic diet is a constantly moving target, and our body is constantly adapting. And as the body adapts, this is the thing, is that your body has a strategy for each season. And if we don't adapt with that, then if we don't adapt to the body's strategy, then the body's going to be going off in a different direction from than we are, right? And that's what we're going to work to prevent. So Ayurveda provides a framework to guide you through seasonal change so that you're not just eating salads as you were in the summer, but recognizing that we need to move to warming, nourishing, and comforting foods. And when you know those right foods to eat, that's when you're going to get a boost in energy, a boost in immunity, and a boost in resilience. So, yeah, great. So let's do it. You can help your body achieve its goals. You can protect yourself from the imbalances that are characteristic of the season. And so what we're going to discuss is what changes happen in your body, what seasonal foods will help you stay balanced, and we're basically going to cover the months of September to November. Now, I know already, just from talking with folks before the call, that some people are living in climates where the seasons don't have a dramatic change. And other people are going to be thinking, wait, I live in Canada and it gets a lot colder faster. And another person is, I live in Mexico and the temperature goes from 120 to 90, right? Something along those lines. And so here's what I want to say. Just as we're getting started here, that part of the equation is the absolute temperature and part of it is the relative temperature. So your body is pretty much going to go through the same thing if you're going from 120 to 90 as going from 90 to 60 or 60 to 30, right? There's going to be some characteristic changes that happen. And then, of course, the absolute temperature matters also. If it's really cold, you need to do something about it. Also, I want to mention that tonight's call is sponsored by the Mastering Ayurveda Digestion and Nutrition course. This is a 500-hour, 10-month online certification program with Joyful Belly, where you can specialize in digestive health and Ayurvedic nutrition, and where you're going to spend a whole year learning the kinds of things that we're learning tonight. And it's fascinating, and it's a real treat to get to devote that time to studying something delicious like food and how to integrate it into your health. So That program starts just a few weeks from now. So if you're on the fence about it, now's the time to make that decision. Anyway, let's start by what happens in fall, and then we'll talk about the body's response. Well, we already know some of the basics. The temperatures get cooler. The wind picks up.
Hi, sorry to interrupt, John. The slide is just stuck on the opening picture. It
Oh,
has
okay. All right, let me try that again then, okay? Thanks for letting me know that. Is it on a new picture now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. So you guys didn't see any of these before. I'll show you my picture again just so you know who's talking to you. And I'll jump back to where I was. There's our okay. So everybody can see the slides are changing when I did that. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, sounds like somebody said yes. Okay, great, good. So we fixed it. All right, good. Much better. All right, great. So what happens in the fall? Some of the things we already know. The temperatures get cooler. The wind tends to pick up. The air dries out. The days get shorter and darker. But there's still some warmth in the midday sun through October. And especially down here in Asheville in western North Carolina in the mountains, it can get pretty cool at nights. But as soon as that sun comes up, the fog burns off and you feel that nice warmth. We're far enough south here that even throughout the winter, you feel that warmth of the midday sun. But that can change depending on your climate. Basically, in all of those things that are happening, the coldness, the wind, the drying out, all that aggravates vata in the end. But let's get a little deeper into it and talk about the body's response. So right away, those conditions can create anxiety, insomnia, dry skin, gas and bloating, and constipation. It happens every year. I start to get calls in my clinic. I start to get clients that have constipation right around the first week of August. So maybe you've noticed that, or maybe you've noticed some insomnia through mid-August, or that your skin is starting to dry out, or you're feeling a little more scattered already. We're deep into September at this point, and this process really starts in early August. So you may have experienced some of these conditions already. Well, let's talk about what your body does and how it reacts to the cold, because this is going to give us the foundation for the solutions that we're going to offer. All right, so temperature fluctuations. First thing that happens when it gets cold is people resist it psychologically, right? I just remember even like a few weeks ago, I was like, I'm determined to wear flip-flops as long as I can, right? And for other people, it's they don't want to give up their pair of shorts or wearing a tank top. But what happens in the fall, and especially as you move into October, is that the temperature gets very variable and it starts to fluctuate rapidly. And you could find yourself suddenly and surprisingly unprepared. This has happened. I just remember as a kid, going out on Halloween night, trick-or-treating, and it's 5 o'clock and warm, and then the sun goes down, and by like 8 p.m. it's snowing, and just getting a cold the next day, right? That sort of thing happens in the fall. So we want to not resist the end of summer psychologically, and we want to be prepared. Because of the temperature variation, you're going to want to put a warm outfit in your car or in your book bag, or just something that you can use to adjust to rapid fluctuation, whether it's getting colder or hotter on that day. And another thing I want to mention is that when the temperature goes up to 50 degrees in March, everyone's like, wow, it's a hot day, right? But when the temperature drops to 65 in September, we're thinking it's pretty cool, right? So what I just want to mention is that it's not just about the thermometer, but the state that your body is in, and that's going to determine how well you're going to weather that cold and how well your body is going to defend itself against that cold. So let's see. I'm going to check to see if I have any new chats. Okay, yeah, I see people gave some confirmation that slides were working before. Okay, good. All right. What's the number two thing that happens is your body gets cold, and what happens is a process called cold diuresis. What does this mean? It means that cold acts like a diuretic. In other words, cold makes you pee, to say it very simply. How does that happen, and what's going on there? Well, first, when your body gets cold, the capillary beds in the surface of your skin constrict. Because your body wants to restrict blood flow to the skin because it wants to hold in heat. It's part of your body's strategy for heat retention, right? If it gets cold, keep the blood away from the surface of the skin, you're going to retain your heat better. So vasoconstriction pushes blood out of the skin. Well, what's the largest organ in your body? Your skin. So suddenly, the blood in the largest organ of your body got squeezed out. What's that going to do to blood pressure? It's going to increase, right? If you take a balloon and you squeeze it, the pressure inside the balloon's going to go up. Well, your blood vessels, your whole circulatory system is like one big balloon. It doesn't look like a balloon. It looks like a web or a tree or something like that, right? It's a little bit more like a branching tree, but it acts like a balloon. And so when you squeeze all of the blood out of your skin, blood pressure goes up. The kidneys regulate blood pressure by siphoning fluids out of the system, and you start to pee. And when you pee, what happens next is you have less fluids in your body. You become slightly dehydrated, and that weakens your digestion. So right there, we're now, as the temperature drops, if you're not taking measures to protect your body, and even if you take measures to protect your body, this is still going to happen. But you're going to get some fluid loss, and that's going to cause dehydration and weaker digestion. Also, I just want to mention, because of that reduced blood flow in your skin's going to start to look older. You know, it's like the worst thing. You look in the mirror this time of year, and you're like, oh, man, I look like I aged 10 years in the last month, right? And nobody likes that feeling, but it's a fact of life of the fall. Because of the reduced blood flow in the skin, it's going to dry out your skin. Your skin's going to get a little more pale and a little more just wrinkly, aged looking, a little grayer, right? Because blood brings color and vibrancy, and lack of blood makes it sort of pale and gray and, you know, a little bit older looking. So, so sorry about that, folks. Okay, then the next thing that happens is your body knows what's going on. This is the thing, like our body has deep programming, and it's known that the cold weather was coming since August. This is not news to the body. Your body, along with the seasons, is already doing things. It's already using fats to thicken up your skin. So when your body pulls all the fats out of your skin, it tends to make the blood a little dry. It actually thins out the blood, which then makes it dry. So the dry skin, their blood drying out, blood dries out first, and that tends to make your colon dry, and it tends to make you pee more. Thin blood makes you pee more, makes your skin get a little drier. So there's just a few factors going on here this time of year. The fats are getting pulled out of your blood, and your skin's losing blood, and that's making you pee. So another thing that happens when it gets cold is that your heart rate slows down. And this is fascinating. With every 1 degree rise in temperature, your heart beats about an extra 10 beats per minute. So literally, June is the time of year when your heart is racing, and it's thrilling, right? June is so extroverted. June and July are so fun, right? We have so much parties and festivals that time of year. Well, now things are starting to slow down again. We're getting into sleepy winter, and we're like looking away from the fun exuberance of summer into the cozy, hearty hibernation of fall. And it's real enjoyable to just allow your body to go along with the season. My wife and I have been going to bed a little bit earlier. And, you know, we've been having some lazy nights on the couch. And I've been happy to take that mid-afternoon nap. It's so enjoyable to just live naturally with the seasons. And my wife and I, we even had a few nights where we didn't turn the lights on at night. We just lit a few candles and did it old style, right? Before light was invented, or before light bulbs were invented, people had to sit in the dark or candlelight, and that's a whole nother rhythm. That's a whole nother biorhythm, and it was real enjoyable to do that for a few days. So with your slower heart rate, digestion might be a little slower, although there's some factors that mitigate that. There is increased blood flow to digestive organs too, so you know there's a little give and take there. You might even get some lazy colon constipation with a slower heart rate, especially if you're a little more on the low thyroid side of things. At the same time, your mind gets a little activated depending on your health. Well, of course, if you're a kapha and those cool temperatures of autumn are going to be inspiring for you and refreshing, and that's great. Those cooler temperatures are going to make you feel good. But if you're a vata person suffering from some indigestion, and you know, so there may be some toxic buildup and ama, and that's going to scatter your nervous system a little bit. So if you feel like you're going in 10 different directions, and you know the kids are starting school, and you're getting back into the swing of things at work, and it seems like there's so much to do, just take that time to like reel it in a little bit, right? Harness and focus your energies if you're vata. So that, you know, you're not trying to accomplish too much. Yes, you can do a lot, but that's a real short-term adrenal rush. And what you want to do is run the marathon, not the sprint, right? And keep that focus so that you can do brilliant, beautiful things instead of just half projects, right? So, yeah, so the mind gets activated either because of toxins or because of the cooler temperatures. In either case, the fall can be a time for inspiration and visioning, not necessarily doing, right? There's a certain amount of doing that goes on, but you don't need to like begin something new or start a whole new direction. You can, you can wait out the vata aggravating fall, and after the fall start that. I mean, this really depends on your constitution too. If you're kapha, you're going to use that inspiring time of fall to make a change. But if you're vata, you're going to keep it tight. So yeah, and that inspiration of fall really peaks during leaf changing season. So I mentioned a little bit about the hibernating already. People tend to become a little more inward focused. The mind and the core of their body get a little more blood. Muscles and skin get a little less blood. So your muscles might feel a little more tired. And digestion can be stronger. Digestion can be stronger or weaker. That's really depending on body type. So, that takes a little bit more analysis. Okay, so that was the basics of what happens, how your body reacts to the cold. So psychological resistance to temperature fluctuations, cold diuresis, fats getting pulled out of the blood, a slower heart rate, and a more activated mind, and at the same time, some more hibernation. You know, I had a really good time reading in the last few days, and so my mind was active, but I was also still. You know, there's reading is mentally active, physically still. All right, now let's go through month by month, and we'll come up with some strategies for what you should do, and how to adapt to the changes that are coming. Let me check that chat box and see if there's anything happening here. All right, what about Pitta? Great, good. Pitta dosha. So in September, and we're going to get to this, there's still a lot of residual heat in the body from summer that needs to be cleared. You see the temperature is cold outside, but that does not mean that Pitta is pacified. You know, the liver needs to be nourished and strengthened, not cleansed, nourished and strengthened, and Pitta heat needs to be cleared. And I always, I just noted, not anymore, but I always used to get poison ivy in September. And I never really put two and two together. Why September? Like, why not July and August, right? Well, because that dry vata aggravation coupled with the remaining high pitta from summer was a perfect storm for my body and made me more hypersensitive to things. And so I used to get poison ivy. And that's just an example of how pitta can be just a little high still in September, and you want to clear it out. Now, someone's asking me to show the vata info slide again. I don't think I had a vata info slide, so I'm not really sure what slide you're talking about. But if you identify it, I'll try to show it again for you. Okay. So, all right, so September, we've already talked a little bit about some of these things. Less humidity in the air, days shorter. It's the end of summer. People are going back to school. Work is in full swing, and the end of the year is in sight. I mean, there's that sudden realization that that you might have to do your Christmas shopping and get started soon, right? So the end of the year is in sight. Evenings are significantly cooler, mornings chilly, and we start to turn inward. We talked about these things: cozy evenings on the couch, some hot baths, maybe start to look a little more appealing. Slow cooked meals. Even people start to want to bake again. Bake your first batch of cookies that you haven't really wanted to do in the summer because it was too hot to stand over an oven, right? But I think there's something more to baking those comfort foods than just not wanting a hot oven. Your body starts to crave those heavier foods. Plants outside are looking leggy and dried out, a little old. As I look out my window here, the sun hasn't set yet. And, just things are still alive, the leaves haven't fallen yet and all that, but it just looks a little more straggly. I just remember how fresh and new everything looked in May, and it just doesn't look like that anymore.
Excuse me, John?
Yes.
You're stuck on the September slide?
Is it stuck again, or does it say plants are looking leggy and dried out or old, or is it stick again?
It's just on September, the first slide.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I don't know why that keeps happening. Let me try it again. I'll share it again, and hopefully it'll update.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great, everybody, for the feedback. I appreciate your tech support on the call here. So plants are looking leggy and dried out, a little old, and yeah, we kind of talk about this a little bit. Make sure you're starting to wear warmer pajamas at night. Don't be the kind of person that wakes up at 3 a.m. because you're caught a little chill, and now you're up 3 hours early. Just wear that warmer, warmer pajamas at night, or keep a warm shirt next to you that you can just, throw on in the middle of the night is a really good strategy for September. And in September, you are all thinking about preventative, right? We're thinking, what am I going to do to strengthen my body before October? If you live up in the northern latitudes, Canada, etc., people might start getting a little sick even in September. If you're in the USA, that's not really going to happen till October. So, but you still want to take the time now to strengthen your body in a preventative fashion. So feeling scattered, appetite starting to increase, and the humidity is gone. We spoke about this already. Get some gas and bloating, some irregular digestion, some ama, maybe some constipation. You might notice your joints are cracking, right? You get some cracking joints this time of year. So pay attention to your body alignment so you're not stressing on your joints. And take note if you have insomnia and anxiety, you might be affected by the season. If I have insomnia this time of year, I put a pinch of salt in a glass of water, a warm glass of water, and drink it. So, if I wake up at 2 a.m. or something like that, warm water with a pinch of salt. And that salt helps hold on to those fluids, and the fluids just calm the body down, right? That's very supportive for the body. This is for Vata folks, not for Kapha. Why does the body dry out so quickly in September? Well, the drier air and your body pulling fats out of the blood, thinning and drying out the blood, and that cold diuresis that we explained a little earlier. And fall seasonal allergies, like that poison ivy is an allergy too, right? That fall seasonal allergy time period comes up in September. And what are the factors there making your body more sensitive to pollen in the fall? Is there really more pollen in the fall than there was in the spring? I know the goldenrods and the ragweeds are blooming this time of year, but there's been flowers blooming all summer long. Why the allergies popping up in the fall? Well, we speculate a few different causes for that. One, that residual high pitta. Two, toxins building up from poor digestion or constipation. And then three, the craving for heavier foods can lead to congestive conditions. And also the dryness in the air can irritate mucous membranes. So those are some possible root causes of allergies in September, just for you to think about. I'm not going to go too much into it, other than to just give a few tips that, allergies are always a sign of high pitta. So if you have seasonal allergies, you want to clear pitta heat with some cooling foods and things like applesauce or even cilantro, although be careful of cilantro's diuretic effect. And if you don't know how to reduce pitta, just go on the Joyful Belly website and go in the ingredients section, click on the search ingredients box, and then click on the pitta reducing, and you'll see a whole list of things that reduce pitta. So get good at using those search features on Joyful Belly to find the perfect diet for yourself. Then if it's AMA, you might be having some postnasal drip, have some heart palpitations, gas and bloating, or even itchy eyes. So if you notice those signs of AMA, then you're going to be clearing out the colon. You're going to be making sure you're eating foods that don't provoke gas and bloating, meaning those easy to digest foods. And remember that in Chinese medicine, there's a strong relationship between the colon and the lung. So constipated colon equals upper respiratory conditions. And so those are just some of the causes of allergies in summer. If your body's not yet used to heavier foods of fall, that could provoke some mucus and dryness in your body. Those can be irritated membranes. So you're going to stay hydrated. You're going to keep your digestion strong by eating easy to digest foods. Keep your bowels clean and clear pitta from the liver. That's your strategy for a general strategy for fall allergies, fall seasonal allergies. Vata people are going to suffer most in September and throughout the fall. Pittas are going to be thankful for the cooler weather, but they still have to clear heat. And Kaphas are going to be happy and feel more refreshed that summer is over and that heavy humidity is gone too. So what are you going to do? You're going to start eating heavier foods, oilier foods, more nourishing foods, sweeter foods that are easy to digest. So we're going to be focusing in September on sweet, sour, and salty taste. Start eating those hearty root vegetables again, like sweet potato and squash. Now, I don't tend to get a strong craving for white potatoes in September. That's a little more October because the cravings get heavier and heavier as we move into the deep fall. But in the early fall, I am thinking more about sweet potatoes and hearty root vegetables, but not like the heaviest of root vegetables yet. And some grains too. I might be having some wheat, but I'm definitely going to be eating grains in general as I move into fall to get that, just to get that heartier, more satisfying foods, nuts, seeds, and even meats. And again, this is going to start off slowly in September and get heavier and heavier throughout October and November. So in September, I really think the ideal oil is coconut oil because coconut oil is so good at clearing pitta. It's so good at nourishing the liver, and also it's an oil, so you're getting that you're taking in those fats, which is so important in the fall. Even rubbing oil over your whole body, you can You can do this time of year, if it's not hot where you're at, you can use sesame oil. If it's still hot where you're at, you can use coconut oil. But that's such a great way to help your body, protect your body against dryness of early fall. You're going to be having a little more salt. So the salt is going to replenish electrolytes. And what does salt do? It helps you retain fluids, right? A little bit of water retention. And that can be good to counteract the dryness of fall if you're a Vata person, and only if you're a Vata person. Kapha should take advantage of the natural diuretic qualities of fall to purge excess water weight. You can start having ginger salt and lime, ginger, salt and lime in warm water before meals to help your digestion. And in general, stay well hydrated. I love to fill up those 32-ounce ball jars. And here's something that I do is I'll take a little teaspoon of honey and a quarter teaspoon of salt and a wedge of a lime, and I'll put it in a ball jar, a 32-ounce ball jar, and fill it up, swish it around, and then I'm drinking that. I'll drink one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and now I know I'm getting lots of fluids. Another one at night. So good. Applesauce is so great for this time of year. I can't wait. This weekend, my kids, my family and I were going to an apple orchard to pick some apples. It's such a great thing to do here in Asheville, North Carolina. And hopefully you get to do some apple picking near you. But they get ripe in September, late August, and even into early October. So take advantage of the season. Those apples, the astringency and cold qualities are great for clearing pitta. The malic acid in the apple really nourishes the liver and is really only a mild liver cleanse. So perfect for purging end of summer heat, but it's still sweet enough, especially if you cook it into applesauce. It's sweet enough to pacify Vata. Now, raw apples could be a little hard on a cold Vata appetite. It might ruin their appetite, but Kapha is no problem with raw apples. So applesauce is great because the sourness of it encourages smooth elimination. Now, we're a little late for me to recommend tomatoes, but in August, I often tell clients to eat peaches and tomatoes because it really softens the stools, and both have a lot of fiber. But in September, I shift away from the peaches and the tomatoes and move more into apples as the sour of choice to keep stool soft. Some digestive herbs and spices like Hingvashtak churna and cinnamon. Hingvashtak churna is an Ayurvedic formula. It's great for improving digestion, and cinnamon can help. Again, we're talking to the folks that have cold Vata digestion this time of year. All right, what about October? So quick recap on September: heavier, oilier, nourishing foods, a little sweeter, some grains, and then some key foods like coconut oil and apple sauce to clear summer heat. All right, October, things are, this is when the fall temperatures are, go like shockingly variable, right? There's like hot, then cold, then hot, then cold, right? It's a real season of unpredictability, at least at my latitude. This may be slightly earlier or later, depending on where you live. Just adjust accordingly. But it can be a real shock to your system. And so I'm just in October, I'm real careful in October because I think October really makes or breaks the fall season in terms of your health and immunity. You catch a bad cold in October, it's going to be lingering for a long time into November even. So just be cautious. And especially right around that Halloween time. The leaves change into those brilliant colors and then they fall. And the vibrancy of summer gives way to the harvest abundance of the fall. And you might have an urge to light the fireplace the first time or have a movie night with your family. Again, still more hibernating, a little more sleepy, but a little more scattered if your Vata's out of balance. Appetite is ramping up as the colder temperatures prod your body into eating more. Remember, your body's trying to build fat in your skin. And where's it going to get that fat? From your diet. So your body's going to get hungrier in October, much hungrier in October. And the bears are doing that too. That's why they say don't mess with bears in October, because they're irritable and hungry and angry, and you don't want to get killed by a bear. So as you know, as with the bears in the wild, the humans get a little hungry too, and your appetite ramps up. Your body will start to crave rich, oily foods. So I always, in September, one of my favorite recipes in September is sesame bread. You know, a little coconut oil, blah, blah. But by October, I'm definitely thinking ghee and, you know, white potatoes, heavier foods, the wheat, even more so. I'm starting to go from like oils to even cheeses. And I'll just never, well, we'll get to November in a minute. I'm going to tell you a story when we get to November. So your body's trying to build that insulating layer of fat. So if you're a Vata and your digestion goes too cold in autumn, just keep up with the spices, warm it up with spices, make sure you're staying hydrated. If your skin gets dull and dry in October, or any time throughout the winter, you can always take a hot bath to revitalize your skin at any time. And you can always oil your skin too. Remember to keep up with your sun exposure. You know, I do a lot of my work from home. And one of the things I did this year was I set up one of those party tents, and not a big one, it's like a 12 by 12 foot little tent in my backyard. And I just set my work table up right there. And I've been sitting outside, enjoying the last few weeks where you can sit outside, listening to the birds, and enjoying the season, not to miss anything, right? I just hate to miss any of the beauty of any season, really. So I'd love to get outside and you know, and enjoy that work time outside. So, but make sure you're getting enough sun exposure as you move into October and the winter months. That's going to keep your spirits up, prevent seasonal affective disorder, and it's also going to keep your skin healthier too. And just remember, throughout winter, always keep the tip of your nose warm. If the tip of your nose is warm, it's a sign that your body is confidently warm, right? But as soon as your body is underconfident about maintaining temperature, your body is going to shut down extremities and let them go a little cold. So then your hands and fingers will get cold, or your tip of your nose will get cold. So if the tip of your nose is warm and your fingertips are warm, your body has temperature confidence, and that's going to mean your body is strong. So don't let your fingertips and tip of your nose get cool in the fall. We're going to be looking at warmer foods, right? We're no longer worried about residual pitta heat. So we can turn up the spices and turn up the heat a little bit by the time we get into October, but not to the point of breaking a sweat, right? There's a real caution. You don't want to take spices to the point of breaking a sweat. Why? Because that means that you forced your body to dilate capillary beds in the skin, which is going to cause rapid heat loss, and you're going to catch a cold, right? So you can turn up the spices to generate a little internal heat, but not to the point where it erupts onto the surface, okay? Think about the nurturing and comforting foods. Continue with sweet, sour, and salty taste. Your root vegetables, grains, some animal products, if you're not vegetarian, will be supportive for that hardiness that you're trying to build this time of year. Some lemon and lime and some vinegar can be helpful sours. Mineral salt, soy sauce is a little bit sour and salty. Miso and seaweed, those are some good sources for salty taste. You're going to start thinking about the soups in October. I don't think about soups in September too much. But by the time October comes around, I'm ready for soup. And I just promised my wife that that I would make her one of my favorite stews with a red wine cream sauce in it. I promised I'd make it for her as soon as December rolls around, right? But in October, you're already thinking of starting some of those soups. Heavy protein-rich foods like eggs, meat, and bone broth is great for this time of year. Your slow cooker is your friend in October. All right, spices. Okay, dried ginger is one of my favorite spices for the fall. Why? Because dried ginger has this unique property that it builds internal heat without making you sweat. Now, this is just the opposite of cloves. Now, cloves is on my list here, but I'm way more cautious with cloves because cloves are a diaphoretic. It opens up your sweat, and you don't want to open the exterior. You don't want to open the surface. You want to keep the surface closed in fall. So I may do just a bit of cloves. I'm not going to overdo it with the cloves because that's going to flush my skin. Now, occasionally, and here's another little tip. I'm distracting myself from my slides here to give you guys some special tips. That if my skin is looking really dull, or I feel like I need greater blood flow to the skin, I will drink some cloves, strong clove tea, or a strong clove beet soup is something I made once that was delicious. And I'll put warm clothing on so that my body doesn't catch a chill, and then I'll just enjoy all that blood flow into my skin for a little while, flush the skin out, clean it a little bit, make it nice and vibrant, and you know, I might do that once a week. So yeah. All right. I think I covered most of the things on this slide, other than mentioning that October is a perfect month to make a homemade chai. All right. What about November? Well, before I go into November, let me just do a quick recap. Heavier foods. You're going to avoid opening the exterior and breaking a sweat. And listen, where'd I go here? Yeah, you're going to be using heavier and heavier fats throughout the fall. And you can have a little more spices in October, like I said, as long as you don't break a sweat. Okay, November. Now, November is where fall comes to a peak, right? The temperature sharply drops. It's cold by November. And so here's where there's going to be this grand crescendo of heavy foods that really ends with Thanksgiving. And then right after Thanksgiving, the diet starts to mellow out, and you start to have even lighter foods. Even the Christmas or New Year's dinner is going to be a lighter meal than you get in November. So is my slide stuck again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Does it say November?
Yes.
On the screen. Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to say the word slide when I change slides, and then you can let me know right away. Because I hope you're not missing these like nice pictures of chai and soups and, you know, all these great slides. And I know that there's a lot of folks on the call whose English is their second language, and they really need the words on the screen to make sure that they're following along the conversation. So don't be shy, folks, to let me know when you are needing those slides. Okay, so I'm gonna change. I'm gonna just say slide because I'm changing my slide right now. All right. So in November, the tree and landscape starts to look bare. Leaves have fallen off the trees. The wind is howling, and your heart starts to want to go back home. You know, I always think about going to Long Island and that small little Long Island town where I grew up. Called East Mauritius, great little town. And, I started thinking about family in November again. And, you know, the spirit of November is a little more introverted, a little more intimate, a little more familial, right? And the days get shorter and darker. Slide. So you can start to get a little cabin fever in November. And then at that time, you know, you need to make conscious efforts to get outside. I sometimes I'll just go for a walk around the yard and pick up the sticks, right? Or just do something to get outside. Go for a walk. Face the cold. Help your body adjust to the season by getting out in the season for 2 hours, 3 hours. Even in the dead of winter, I make sure I get my, once a week, I get my 3 hours outside. So my body, it's like my tune-up, right? My body gets in tune with the season. And I always have, a tradition that every year on the coldest day of the year, I go out for 3 hours. And that way, with that exposure to the elements, my body is recalibrating and it's ready. And I've noticed that little, once a week exposure has really helped me stay strong. All right. So you'll be traveling to see family and friends over the holidays, which is a great lift in your spirits. The Kapha people might be getting seasonal affective disorder already in November. So watch out for that depression and get enough sunlight. You can even get one of those blue lights. And the way, November recalls the smell of turkey and warm mashed potatoes and all that good stuff. So Thanksgiving comes at the perfect time of year as your appetite peaks. And I just, I said I would tell a story about November, and I'll tell 2 stories. So the first is when I graduated from Ayurveda school and went from Albuquerque towards New York, and within a few short weeks, I had made that transition from Albuquerque to Poughkeepsie, and that was like a little stop on my way to Long Island. And I spent a few days in Poughkeepsie, which is northern New York, and it's really cold there. And I just remember I had this jar of saffron ghee, and it was so cold, and I got really hungry fast, so I had a teaspoon of the ghee. And then I had another teaspoon, and boy, that ghee was good. I'd gone from like 70 degrees to 10 degrees, huge temperature drop. And after a few days, so I'm just eating this ghee. And then I started drinking it from the jar, right? Because I warmed it up enough that it was a liquid. So I drank, maybe, a few good swills of it. And then I was like, wow, this is really good. So I drank like half of it. And then I was like, wow, this is still good. So I just drank the whole thing, a whole jar of ghee. And I tell you, like 48 hours later, my body was ready for the cold. I had adjusted, and it was like, hyperdrive adjustment. Now, I'm not recommending that you eat that much ghee. I had, developed my Agni, my digestive strength, to the point where I could tolerate that. And I tend to have a really high fat diet in general. So I'm not suggesting you do that, but I wanted to say that to illustrate just the kind of like craving your body might have for fats in November. Now, here's another story, which is I love pies. Anyone who knows me knows that pies are like my favorite kind of dessert. Why? Because they're a whole food. What other dessert is a whole food, right? And so pies are my favorite dessert. They're tasty. They're not like simple sugar. Some cookies and things like that, they're just all sugar, but pies have this rich, complex flavor. They oftentimes have really healthy ingredients in them in general. So sweet potato pies, pecan pies, even your banana cream pies and pumpkin pies. Well, pumpkin pie has always been my favorite my whole life. So I remember there was one year where I started cooking pies, and I probably had a parasite or something along at this time too, because in fact, I probably did, because I had come back from India and I was having some struggles, but I was real hungry. And I baked myself a pie like every 3 days, and I ate it. And I was just eating like 2 or 3 pieces of pie every single day for the whole month of November. And then in early December, by the time early December came around, I had really overdone it. And I got sick and nauseous and threw up. And then I stopped eating the pies and I felt fine, right? But that's a classic November story, which is, that strong appetite in November, and then that comes to this crescendo in Thanksgiving, and then you back off right away. Otherwise, you get sick in early December. And I had to learn that lesson the hard way in my early Ayurvedic career. So yeah, it's more of the same, in more intensity, more constriction of blood vessels, the skin getting drier and gray. People turn their heat on in November, and that can dry out the mucous membranes and cause a cold. So be on the lookout for that. When you first turn on your heating system in November, think about turning on a humidifier as well to keep the air nice and moist as your body's transitioning 3 or 4 weeks into it, you can probably pack up the humidifier again. But, you know, ease into transition so your body has time to adjust. Let's see. So, yeah, don't diet in November. You know, even if you're a person who wants to lose weight, don't diet in November. Because if you diet in November, that could create an immune deficiency and you'll catch a cold and it'll be hard to shake. So, you know, don't diet in November. Enjoy the satisfaction of a few extra pounds. Ayurveda loves a few extra pounds. And, you know, despite what the media says, most people do too. You know, I know most people don't like a few extra pounds on themselves, but in everybody else, a few extra pounds looks great. It creates satisfaction, it creates affection and love, and it's very enjoyable. So don't worry about a few extra pounds in November. It's natural, it's seasonal. Your body should gain a little weight then. And Vatas especially, if you're a Vata or any inkling of underweight, I know some people have body dysmorphia and they think they're overweight when they're not. If that's you, just be really cautious in November. Don't get yourself sick because it can really happen that time of year, and you don't want to be going into winter already sick. So, you know, eat a regular mealtime and enjoy those heavier foods. So Pitta and Kapha individuals have it much easier in November, but Vata can get pretty aggravated in November. So be real careful if your Vata is aggravated that time of year. So, yeah, Kapha people will struggle with the cold. By November, it's dark enough and cold enough that Kapha is really starting to get aggravated here. A little more depression, don't want to get out of bed, you know, so that comes with the cold. So Kapha tends to just, you know, get feelings of being really stuck in November. So look out for that, okay? And give yourself a nice hot bath. You know, get your blood moving if you're a Kapha person at that time of year. So in November is a time of year where, like I said, where you're going to have the heaviest kinds of fats, like your cheeses. I think of cheeses are perfect for November. Your spiced milks. Again, it's just real hearty kinds of foods. You know, crock pot foods, even Instapot foods. Sugar cravings might hit in November too. So desire for baking. And think about, again, still soups. And by the time November comes around, you're going to start avoiding bitter and astringent tastes. It's just too much, you know, for the cold of that time of year. Don't worry. You can introduce bitters and astringents back into the diet by late December, by the new year. You can add those back in. And I do think, and I'll talk about this hopefully some other time and make a great argument why people naturally reintroduce bitters around Christmas time, New Year's. So, great. All right. So we've come to the end of our basic program, but I want to announce a giveaway for you guys. If you send me an email and request it, I'll send you our top recipes for autumn, some of our favorite recipes that you can cook for this time of year. And if you send me that email, you'll also get a chance to win a free What's Your Dosha t-shirt from Joyful Belly. So basically, to get the recipes and get a chance to win the t-shirt, just send us your response to these two questions. One, what excites you about studying Ayurvedic digestion and nutrition for a year? What would excite you about that? I know that not all of you are thinking about enrolling in the course, but but some of you are probably excited to enroll, even if you can't enroll, and you know, or would like to enroll, even if you can't. Well, get in touch. You know, if you send us your answer to these two questions, we will email you our top recipes for autumn, and I'll put you in a raffle for the t-shirt. So the two questions are, what would excite you about studying Ayurvedic digestion and nutrition for a year? And then number two, what prevents you from enrolling in the course? So they can be short answers. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. But if you email us that, we will send you our top recipes for autumn and a chance to win the t-shirt. And there's a picture of the t-shirt. It's a nice, snug fitting, real comfortable fabric. So, yeah. So first thing I want to mention is that before I give my summary, is that today's class is a sample of what you would learn in the digestive course. Like if you liked what you heard today and felt inspired by it, and were like, oh, I really want to know this kind of stuff, the course is going to be a treat for you if that's the case. The program covers 30 specific digestive tract pathologies, in addition to all kinds of other supplemental material, and food experiments, so that you'll be basically a master of food. You know, you will know food in a deeper way than you ever thought possible, and you'll immerse yourself. It's an exciting opportunity to immerse yourself in Ayurveda and make your life beautiful, make your life balanced, make eating intuitive. So a great gift to yourself and to your community. Yeah, so to recap, Ayurvedic diet for autumn. As the season changes, you need to change with it. And Ayurveda outlines what's going on in your body and how to change your diet and lifestyle for each season. So in fall, remember, stay hydrated. Focus on soft, easy to digest foods. Warmer, oilier, heavier foods with sweet, sour, and salty taste. Slow cooked meals that are warm, and a little more spices as you get through the season. So I want to thank you all for listening to the call. And I really, more than that, want to just thank you for being interested in your body. Thank you for being interested in Ayurveda. And then, of course, finally, to coming to us and learning from us. We love to share food with you. And so I'm glad and I'm glad you're here and hope you enjoyed it. So let me see. I saw somebody raise their hand and had some questions, and I'm going to open the floor for questions too. So let me check the chat box. But again, yeah, thank you everybody. And whoever has questions, I am here and happy to answer them. So let's see here. I'll unmute the lines too, so that way people aren't trying to figure it out, unless it gets too noisy. Okay, so I unmuted the lines. Oh, sorry. Yeah, where to send the email? Thanks, April, for asking that. It's the john@joyfulbelly.com. JOHN@joyfulbelly.com. And there was a slide that I had with that. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. There you go. john@joyfulbelly.com. That's the slide. All right. So Nadera writes, fresh ginger or dry ginger? Nadera, fresh ginger is fine. It's a little bit more of a vasodilator, so it can open the exterior and cause you to sweat. So as long as that's not happening, it's great. And there are many reasons why fresh ginger is superior to dry ginger, as long as you're not sweating. Preferred subject heading, April, you can just say get auto recipes and t-shirt. Something like that would be a fine subject. Nadera also asks if essential oil diffusers can be used as humidifiers. Great question. I've never used it in that way. I know that it is putting some humidity into the air. My guess is that it's probably not enough, Nadera. Madhu asks about cold fingers and feet. Here's the thing, Madhu. Don't just try to warm your fingers and feet. It's really about the chest and the neck. Because remember, it's not that your feet are cold because they're not covered. It's because your body is shutting down blood flow to them. Just remember this. Your body is literally shutting down blood flow to your fingers and your feet when they're cold. And so what you want to do is convince your body that it doesn't need to do that. And that means keeping your head, your neck, and your chest warm. So, if I had cold feet, I would sooner take off my shoes and socks and put on 2 sweaters than I would put on 3 pairs of socks, right? So it's not
mute the
about
lines again,
the covering
please?
on your feet. It's about the sweaters. Now I hear somebody's talking. Was that a question that you had, or is that just background?
I was just wondering if you could mute the lines again. It's hard to hear you.
It's a little hard to hear. Okay, I will mute them. Yeah. Okay. All right, great. So LD says, I'm traveling from India in October. Traveling to India in October from New England for 2 weeks. How does one adjust smoothly going to India and returning when the climate is so different? Okay. So when my wife and I went on our honeymoon, we got married in December. And so we deliberately went someplace colder so that where we traveled would actually help us prepare our bodies for winter. And we wanted to go there anyway. So we just picked a place in the northern climate that we wanted to go. And it was a great honeymoon. It was we ended up going to Austria. And so that was a good strategy. But to go someplace warm in the fall really is going to throw your body for a loop. So I'm not exactly sure the best answer to this, other than when you come back, you just really have to be careful with yourself. I would give yourself a week after you return before, going outside for a long period of time. And just in general, adjusting to time change is so hard too, for that. So, I know and not everyone has, can always choose exactly when they're going somewhere and all that. But I would say, just keep your routine on lockdown. I wouldn't worry about going to India. That's not the problem. Other than, of course, the normal travel precautions, don't eat street food, etc. And Joyful Belly has a whole article on how to travel well. But when you come back and you go suddenly from that hot to that cold, that's what I'm worried about there. So I would say, stay indoors, dress very warmly, overdo it. Dress much warmer than you normally would, and let your body adjust a little bit more slowly. That would be the best thing that I could say for that. Let's see. Can a student loan be obtained for the courses? Yes. Not a loan so much, but we have a monthly payment plan. And if you use the monthly payment plan, it'll be less expensive. Okay. What kind of apples for applesauce? I'm not that particular in the kinds of things I do. I like to do the broad brushstrokes because I think it makes life a little bit more flexible. Just as a general strategy. Of course, sometimes we need to get real specific too. But I would say any kind of apples for applesauce. You just put the apples on a stove, put a little water in to get it going, and they'll be soft within 15 minutes. If you cook them for about a half an hour, it'll be mush. All right. What tips do you have for tri-doshic people? Okay. First of all, in all of my time as a practitioner, I've never really I've met plenty of tri-doshic people, but I've never met someone who had a who their imbalances came from each of their doshas. Even the tri-doshic individuals seem to have most of their imbalances come from a specific dosha. And so that's the one I would pay closest attention to. And I would say that with tri-doshic people, you enjoy, heartier health. And you could just stay away from extremes, just general extremes. And if you're tri-doshic and relatively healthy, you eat with the seasons. Oh, here's something I want to tell everybody. When you're healthy, you eat according to the season. When you're not healthy, you eat according to the dosha that's aggravated. So my Vata and Pitta were seriously aggravated for about 5 or 6 years after I started studying Ayurveda because of parasites and some other things from traveling too much and being overconfident while traveling. So even if it was the dead of winter, my body was still in the same imbalanced pattern. So summer, winter, fall, spring, I had the same diet. But once I started to heal, then I had to shift over to a seasonal diet. So think about that. Jean, my husband and I have been experiencing insomnia and enjoyed the poppy seed sleepy time tea. I love that tea. And you said we slept like a log. Can that tea be drunk every night? Well, Jean, I would say I try not to do anything every single night because your body just copes with it, right? Your body adjusts. People tend to live at a certain level of stress, and if they do something to help their stress, then they just end up taking on more stuff till their stress level's the same, right? It's kind of that way. So what I would say, Jean, is that, pick 2 nights a week or 3 nights a week when you really need it and save it for then, because you don't want your body to build up a tolerance to it. Nadera, for diabetics, should this time of year be more forgiving of increasing carb sugar intake? Nadera, there are several different kinds of diabetes. If you're talking about adult onset diabetes, in fact, I would say just in general, no. I would say that it's probably just going to be relatively the same diet that you're going to need if you have diabetes. I would say, just keep a close eye on it. Any suggestions for perimenopausal women and mood balance during autumn? Yes, you want an ojas nourishing diet, a diet that builds ojas. It's called OJAS. I'll type it in the chat box. And what ojas means is just literally what I've been saying: sweeter foods, more nourishing foods, and keep your digestion strong. So if you're not getting gas and bloating and you're nourishing yourself, and enough, and you're nourishing yourself, that's going to be great. You can also take herbs like shatavari, but shatavari is contraindicated for kapha, and if you get lumps in the breast during menstruation. But otherwise, since estrogen's a little bit lower during perimenopause, shatavari should be okay. But it is estrogenic, so I would say ojas building, shatavari, easy to digest, and get plenty of rest. Menopause is really aggravated by vata conditions. I mean, really aggravated by vata lifestyle. So, you want to, work fewer hours, get some rest, nurture yourself. The more you nurture, the better your menopause is going to be. That's just a general Ayurveda rule of thumb. Jessica asks about Chyawanprash. Yes, Chyawanprash is an awesome herbal formula for the fall. It's indicated for the fall for kids and adults alike. It's a delicious jam. I love to eat it. You can find it on Joyful Belly and order yourself a nice jar of Chyawanprash. What am I having for dinner? Well, my wife actually made a nice shepherd's pie tonight. So she made it with turkey, and turkey's a little vata aggravating, not ideal, but with enough black pepper, I think that it's going to be great for my vata, and it's just so tasty to have those richer foods this time of year. It's our first shepherd's pie of the year. For even through the first week of September, our diet was light. I was doing the nice smoothie bowl in the morning with a delicious, very healthy smoothie bowl, and I'll just sprinkle a few Rice Krispies on top, and that's very simple. Very simple way of eating a nice food in the summer. But as the fall came around, we're starting to shift into the heavier foods intermittently. It's still pretty warm here, so we're going back and forth. Yeah. April asked about the autumn subscription boxes. April, send me an email about that if you want, and I'll get you more details on that. Any other questions? All right. I know some people emailed me questions before the call, so I want to just go through 2 or 3 of those. And let's see here. Here are some questions from students. What I don't understand about eating for the seasons is that if you're a Vata, eating foods that align with the spring or the summer, or if you're a Kapha, eating foods that provoke Kapha in the fall. So yeah, what this person's asking is like, if you're a Kapha and it's fall time, what are you going to do? Or if you're a Vata and it's springtime, what are you going to do? Because the diet is opposite to your dosha. Well, the thing is you're just going to lean in that direction. You're right. If you're a Kapha this time of year, you're not just going to go eating lots of bowls of ice cream. But a Vata person may have some more ice cream than you. But you're going to have a heavier diet, but not a heavy diet. And same thing for Vata in the spring. Your diet will be a little bit lighter, will be some mild bitters in it, but you're not going to go as intense with your spring cleanse as a Kapha person would. So next question. What about keeping my whole family healthy in the fall, not just me? Well, that's a big question because people in your family have different doshas. Here's what I'm going to say. It's a lot easier to deal with that than you think, because what you do is you make the meal, but think about it. If you really think about it, most of your meals, the thing that aggravates Kapha or the thing that aggravates Vata or the thing that aggravates Pitta is usually a garnish or the amount of oil that you put in there, or it's really easy to avoid those things, those ingredients that strongly aggravate any dosha. And then what you do is on the table, you might put a little thing of olive oil on the table, and the Vata person will pour more olive oil over their dish. And the Kapha person will put more spices on it. And the Pitta might garnish with some cilantro. So use your sauces and your garnishes to pacify the doshas if you're trying to cook for the family. Case in point was that shepherd's pie tonight. My wife, when she got out of scoop of the shepherd's pie, she took a little bit more turkey and I took a little more mashed potatoes. So it's really a lot easier than you think to adjust for that sort of thing. Can you mix oils while cooking, or is it a bad combination? That's an interesting question, Madhu. I've never formally studied that, but I don't mix oils. Like, I don't cook with coconut oil and olive oil. I just cook with one or the other. I don't know why. I'd have to think about that a little more. It's a great question to ask, though. Let's see. I'm gluten, soy, dairy, corn, and egg free. Will this work for me? All right, good. So we're in the same boat, except I can eat eggs, but I can't eat nuts, and it sounds like you can. And I can't eat any red meat, and you didn't say that either. So I would say, the great thing about this bountiful earth that we live on is that there's just so much abundance out there. There's so many different options and choices that, don't be thinking about what you can't have. Just look at what you can, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be great. And then the next thing is on Joyful Belly in the ingredient and the recipe section, there's a little checkbox you can click for an allergen-free diet, and you'll see all of our great recipes for allergen-free foods. So I would say use that as a resource. All right, another person. I'm using Triphala already. I can hardly tolerate the bitterness. This morning I took half the water in Triphala powder and added raw honey. Is it okay to take it that way? All right, well, here's the thing. The main taste in Triphala is astringency, not bitter. So what you were thinking of as bitter was probably astringency, but maybe it was bitter. In any case, I guarantee you, if you take Triphala for 40 days straight, you're going to love the taste of Triphala. I love the taste of Triphala, and every client I've ever had comes around to loving Triphala. I know you don't believe it if you're on this side, on the other side of that 40 days, but give it a shot. And yeah, no problem. Put a little honey in it, but eventually take the honey back out. Use the honey to ease yourself into it. But then I would say be bold. So what? Don't worry about it if it doesn't taste that good. Like, enjoy the discomfort a little bit and it's good for you. It's a nice medicine. So I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that it tastes awful. It's good conditioning. It'll strengthen your character. So, all right. Well, any more questions from anybody? You guys are a great class. Asking lots of questions. I love it. I love the opportunity to stay on here. Goat's milk versus cow's milk. And Nadera says, I love this presentation. Thank you, and enjoy your dinner. All right. Oh yeah, colon cleansing. Yes, Jessica, I'll get to yours too. All right, goat's milk versus cow's milk. Now here's the thing. I notice my body tolerates goat cheese really well. But if I drink cow's milk, I have a problem. Now I tend to tolerate all cheeses better than the milk products because I think the fermentation process must break down something in milk that I have an intolerance to. Any case, goat's milk and cow's milk have really different properties. Goat's milk is warmer and a lot easier to digest. So if you have trouble digesting cow's milk or cow's milk is causing a problem, try goat's milk. Jessica Rubin, colon cleansing is okay. Yeah, this is the time of year to cleanse the colon because Vata's home is the colon. And Vata gets aggravated this time of year. So this is exactly the time of year when you should be doing your enema cleanses. And Joyful Belly has an enema kit on the website that comes with an enema handbook, an Ayurvedic enema handbook. So order that, and I'll send you all the details about how to do colon cleansing. And someday I'll probably give a talk on colon cleansing because it's such a great topic and so awesome for healing. Totally underutilized method and means to feel great. It is safe to do enema at home. Everybody used to do enema 50 years ago, or maybe it's 60 years ago now. But enema was like the #1 treatment protocol for home remedies up until like the 1950s. And for some reason, people just don't do it anymore. I don't know why. Now, yes, enema can get addictive if you're doing it every day. And you need to know some basic tips of how to do enema the right way. But otherwise, it's something that you can do from home, and it was standard practice up until about the 1950s. So great, Trish, that you want to get that presentation on cleansing. Yeah, I'd love to give that sometime. And even, we should do a group cleanse so we can, troubleshoot, ask questions and things like that, which would be a great, fun topic for us. If you're just finding out about Ayurveda, do the courses start with the basics? Haley, we do get people in our courses that have not done anything with Ayurveda before in the past. And we start them from the ground up. But I will say that for our Mastering Ayurveda Digestion and Nutrition course, we do require that people have some prior background in health, some commitment to health. Now, I've let people in who took a picture of their library, their health library, and I asked them questions about different books on their shelf, and I could tell that they really were had a serious interest. But otherwise, it's people who have a health history for the Mastering Ayurveda Digestion course. You could be in any health or wellness related field, from mental health to yoga or massage or whatever it is. We just want to see your commitment to health and wellness in that course. The Ayurveda Fundamentals course, there are no prerequisites for that course. So hopefully, Haley, that's something that will work for you. And just contact me either way, Haley, because we can talk over the phone. And I love coaching students. Look, I love to learn. I love to study Ayurveda. So I love to talk to people who want to study Ayurveda. And I will be happy to coach every one of you on this call about your life in Ayurveda about your professional life in Ayurveda. If you're thinking, oh, well, I want to do the course, but how am I going to make this a career? I will talk to you and we'll come up with a vision together that will be something that you love, because I love coaching people about their mission. I love helping people with their sense of mission and helping people find stuff that they love. And Madhu, the way to talk to me, if you want to, is text me at this number, 828-785-8213. Text me. Tell me that you want to talk. I will coach you through your mission. Even if you're, just try me. It's a lot of fun. I'd love to talk with you. And also, if you're thinking finances won't work for the course, or that you don't have enough time, or how are you going to do it? Don't try to figure it out on your own. Like, I've talked to thousands of students, literally, through these issues. And, I don't know that you'll be able to do the course. I can't know that until we talk. But what I will say is this, that I've helped a lot of people figure out a way to do what they thought was impossible. And so, I have the tips, because I helped other students, even students that were halfway through the program and was starting to feel like, oh no, I can't do it. So I sat down with those students and we worked it through, and we talked for a half an hour or 40 minutes and went through their schedule, and we found great ways for them to save time. And so, I've coached students in how to make more money so they could afford the course. Just don't, education is something that's like everyone deserves, right? And so don't let those things stand in your way, at least without even talking together, right? All right, so Jessica asks, how much time do you need to commit to the course? For the Mastering Ayurvedic Digestion course, it's about 8 to 10 hours a week. Some students will spend a little more. I'd be the type of student that would spend 12 hours a week. Why? Because I love to get into things. I'll listen to something for 10 minutes, and then I will meditate on it for 10 minutes. And then I will, contemplate it and then listen to another 10 minutes. So it would take me longer. But I know a lot of people can do it and do it in around the 8 to 10 hour, 8 to 10 hour time frame a week. Do our classes give the education necessary to work with a private practice? Yes. Yes. You will be able to see your own clients when you graduate. Definitely. And that's what we're gearing you up for. We're going to be doing practice consultations in the program on each other, with other students, and also with outside volunteer clients. So you will be getting practice about that within the program. And the program's very experiential. Tonight we did a lot of talking, but even still, I hope you can feel in the presentation that what we're talking about is something visceral here, right? It's not this highly technical, biochemical, all these other things, but it's visceral things that we experience. And then we're going to be doing body awareness experiments and food awareness experiments with each other. And so it's an experiential program, and which is, by the way, one of my favorite things about it. So, yeah. Any other questions? Trish, about body awareness and food awareness is quite interesting. Oh, and I look forward to exploring this further. Great, Trish. Yeah, great. The thing about the food awareness experiments, Trisha, that, or Trish, sorry, I don't mean to call you Trisha. I don't know if that's your full name. The food experiments, as a class, we go through it. In the beginning of the year, everyone's like, oh, how do I feel the medicinal effects of food? And they're thinking they can't do it. By the end of the program, everybody has this it's almost you could just see the change happening in the middle of the program, and people just start to really understand food as medicine, and they they understand food in this deep way. They can eat something and start to feel all the medicinal effects of the food, and they'll tell me what the medicinal effects are. And it's just so fascinating to watch it, how you don't actually, I mean, the textbooks are all helpful, but you don't actually need them to know what food and herbs do to your body. You can literally eat a food and feel the medicinal effects that are going on and be able to articulate them using the Ayurvedic method. And that's what we teach people. And once you have that skill, you'll be able to do that with any supplement, with any herb, with any food. And that's so powerful for being a practitioner, right? That's so powerful for your future growth, because you won't have to memorize things. You'll know it in your body. You'll know it. All right. MJ asks, what if no appetite in the hot, late days of September in LA? Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. If the heat destroys the appetite, eat lightly during lunch. And then in the evening, when the temperature starts to cool, you can have a heavier meal then. And in the mornings, you can have a heavier meal too. That's just part of going with the flow. If it's dryness that's taking away your appetite, MJ, though, and not heat, then you just want to stay hydrated, because dryness will undermine your appetite. Any other questions? All right. Well, you guys are fantastic. I love your questions. I think you guys asked the most questions of any group I've ever had, and so I'm very excited to have you all on the call. And Trish says, this is true, John. Read the body awareness and food awareness. It's key to having improved health, so we don't have to guess what we are eating. Exactly. And Jessica writes, thanks so much. I appreciated learning from you. Yeah, I appreciated all your questions, and I appreciated you guys sharing too. I can't wait to hear from you some more. Remember, email us with the answers to those 2 questions. What would excite you about studying Ayurveda for a year? What prevents you from enrolling? We'll put you in for the draft for the t-shirt and send you those Ayurvedic recipes for fall. And text me at my number, 828-785-8213, if you want some coaching on how to make Ayurveda reality in your life. I just love to talk with you. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk again soon.